On the show, New Delhi makes changes in the Hajj policy, mostly to benefit of women and senior citizens. The pilgrimage becomes cheaper as well. Child marriage arrests continue in Assam. Nearly 2,500, mostly teenage husbands, are in jail. What happens to their families? Details up ahead. A global minority report names India as the most inclusive nation for religious minorities. We tell you what it means for a nation as big as India. Deja vu. Barely a month after cracks became rampant in the temple town of Joshimath, Kashmir's Doda district is witnessing a similar ordeal. Pakistan and its misplaced priorities. Faced with an inevitable economic meltdown, Islamabad is more worried about Kashmir. Watch how India slammed Pakistan in the United Nations. And citing difference between eligibility and suitability, Supreme Court dismisses petitions challenging lawyer Victoria Gowdy's appointment as Madras High Court's additional judge. This and more with a comprehensive view of India. Top Angle starts right here, right now. Well, now the government of India has made changes in the Hajj policy, and it is lucrative. The new policy is more inclusive, especially for the women, senior citizens, and persons with disabilities. There is provision for financial relief as well. Now, even single women above the age of 45 years can apply as individuals, something that was not allowed until now. And for the ease of travel and stay, an officer from the Hajj committee from every state will accompany the pilgrims. Here are some of the many changes that have been made. As per the new policy, the application fee is now waived off. A pilgrim will now spend 50 to 60,000 rupees less for the entire pilgrimage. Earlier, it used to cost nearly 4 lakh rupees per person. The period of stay has been reduced to 30 days instead of the earlier 40 days. And the stay can be extended only under critical circumstances. Now, there will be no charge for suitcase, umbrellas, bags, bedsheet while applying. Pilgrims can now buy them on their own. And from now on, the Hajj policy will be issued every year, unlike earlier when it was fixed for every 5 years. This increases the chance of incorporating changes based on immediate requirements. Next up, nearly 2,500 men, mostly teenage husbands, have been arrested in Assam. What for? Well, the arrests are part of the state government's drive against child marriage. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma's action is in full swing. The opposition has called the move a publicity stunt for the next assembly polls. Meanwhile, protests are on in many parts of Assam. Opposition parties have lashed out at the Bharatiya Janata Party. They have termed the arrests quote-unquote abuse of law and meant to terrorize people. Cancellations of several weddings of underage girls in many of Assam's districts have been reported. Affected families allege that the police's approach has been heavy-handed. Yet, Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, justifying the action, has pointed out alarming statistics. Nearly 17 out of 100 pregnant women in Assam last year were teenagers. He says, and I quote, "Our drive against child marriage is for public health and public welfare, as teenage pregnancy ratio in Assam is quite alarming. We're resolved to continue this drive until we fulfill our objective." Now, India, especially in the Amrit Kal, has no place for a chronic social menace like child marriage. Yet, a statewide action under stringent provisions and retrospective arrests may not be the answer. With their husbands in jail, it will leave affected women in the lurch. Long-term solutions and grassroots initiatives are better suited to address the issue. The state should implement adequate healthcare, education, and women's empowerment initiatives on a war footing. Now, we have often heard the critics of the Modi government complaining against what they call adverse policies for religious minorities. But a global minority report has recently named India as one of the most inclusive nations for religious minorities. The Center for Policy Analysis report that has come up with the findings is based on surveys in 110 nations. Now, the survey has placed India right on top for minorities' acceptance. India is followed by South Korea, Japan, Panama, and the United States. while Maldives, Afghanistan and Somalia are worse performing in terms of inclusivity and acceptance of religious minorities. Now, the report hails India for what it calls an approach that promotes religious diversity. Referring to the Indian Constitution, the report highlights the clauses encouraging minorities' role in culture and education. Now, for a country as big and diverse as India, issues related to minority communities often are either underreported or simply blown out of proportion. CPA's latest report on India's standpoint is clearly a shot in the arm for the current dispensation. Next up, barely a month from the appearance of major cracks in Joshimath town in the month of January, residents in Jammu and Kashmir's Doda district are witnessing cracks in their homes as well. This, the experts say, is a result of land subsidence in the area. Senior scientists from the Geological Survey of India are in Doda to assess the affected areas. The village of Nai Basti, located 30 kilometers away from Doda in Jammu's Doda district, has been left on the brink of destruction due to land subsidence over a few days. Houses have developed cracks and many have been evacuated. By Friday last week, at least 22 houses were vacated and 300 people were moved from Nai Basti. They were seen carrying their belongings on their heads and leaving for safer places. Many say outside their houses with all their belongings. Now, environmentalists from Srinagar suggest the reason for this disaster may be due to dynamite blasts and hill cutting for road construction in the Pir Panjal mountains. The J&K administration is currently engaged in expanding National Highway 244, which connects Doda and Kishtwar districts in Jammu with Anantnag district. The 850 megawatt Rattle hydropower project is also being built around 7 kilometers away from Nai Basti. The exact reasons for this subsidence in Doda are yet to be ascertained. But for the time being, it's a race against time for the administration and residents alike. Take a look at this. A cash-strapped Pakistan, staring at an imminent economic meltdown, is not bothered about its people or their sustenance. It is more worried about Kashmir, something that doesn't belong to it in the first place. And as if the previous reminders and snubbings were not enough, Pakistan called for the same on Tuesday during a UNGA session. India reiterated that the entire Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were, are and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India.
Who had suffered. Irrespective of what the representative of Pakistan believes or covets, the entire Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were, are and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. We expect nothing new from this delegation that harbors a deep sense of insecurity and orchestrated hatred for India and our secular credentials and values that my country stands for.
Moving on, the Apex Court has dismissed petitions challenging lawyer Lakshmana Chandra Victoria Gauri from taking oath as an additional judge of the Madras High Court. On Tuesday, Advocate Victoria Gauri took oath as Madras High Court judge. And at the same time, in New Delhi, the Supreme Court was hearing the plea challenging her appointment, alleging hate speeches made by her. Some Madras High Court bar members had written to the Chief Justice seeking a recall of this particular recommendation. Now, dismissing the petition, the SC bench said there is a difference between eligibility and suitability. The bench also said, and I quote, "While eligibility could be challenged, the courts should not get into suitability. Otherwise, the whole process becomes haywire." I unquote. And on that note, this is the end of this edition of Top Angle. Do check out incisive news analysis and cutting-edge documentary streaming only on News 9 Plus. Thanks for watching.